Welcome to my work. Are you co-parenting with a narcissist or are you in a custody battle with a narcissist? If this is you, you are not alone. I went through a 12-year family court battle. I was able to stop the war with the narcissist using higher level skills. I won some in family court, I lost some in family court, and then I finally successfully negotiated with the narcissist. My child got everything reinstated, her whole life returned to her. She's happy, healthy, thriving. And I want this for you and all the children that have to endure this situation. So I teach skillful means, non resistance, non attachment to outcomes, and the skills of planned and purposeful non-action with a narcissist, which can diffuse, disarm, de-escalate the narcissist, which reduces chaos and conflict so you can focus on what really matters, which is the child. And when you have peacetime, you can thrive. If it's just war and battles, you're barely surviving it. And it all does affect the child and our mental health as moms. So welcome to my work. I hope you learned something today. This just a quick disclaimer. I'm not a therapist. I'm, a mom survivor here to educate, encourage, empower women and mothers. Learn all you can. Knowledge is power. This isn't direct advice. I'm not a lawyer, professional of the court. Take what you want, leave the rest. I have some strategies for dealing with a narcissist. Find that video. You'll need several strategies. I have a video, Know the Narcissist. You got to know what you're dealing with, who you're dealing with. Then you can tailor your approach because the things that work with normal people don't always work with a narcissist. I have books 1 through 6, all the way from Co-Parenting with a Narcissist, 7 Self-Rules to Stay Sane, which are rules we set with ourselves to protect our sanity because self-preservation is a must, to Wisdom for Ending the Co-Parenting War in a Custody Battle with a Narcissist so you can heal, be able to help your child. I say read them 1 through 6. They're on Amazon, they're on Audible, full of my tips, tools, and strategies. So, when might non action help you co parenting with a narcissist? When might non action or the skill of planned non action help in a custody battle? I recently wrote this as an article for my website. It'll be in my last book about surviving the narcissist. So, um, you've got to ask this question because many of us moms are trying to do to fix, save, rescue our child, and we burn out from exhaustion. And planned non-action used as a strategy is purposeful and can stop chaos and the conflict with a narcissist. So, my successful negotiation with a narcissist today, we have a miracle. We enjoy peaceful, cooperative co parenting, including regular child support from a narcissist. It's unbelievable. I know. I also gained my rights back and have the majority of parenting time. Our child got all our activities, therapist, phone, school, returned to her, all the thing the narcissist stripped away from us in 2020 with one round of court, which was a 5-day trial. So I'm a veteran of family court failures. And he now even pays for some of her activities, which extracurricular activities, which I couldn't even get him to do with many court orders. So I want this better outcome for all the moms suffering and struggling. Learn my principles. It takes a little bit to digest them because it seems like doing nothing will lead to a worsening outcome. And in some cases, yes, you need the gift of discernment, which is why I always say get a strategy partner, a DV counselor, get some people on your side to help you vent and discuss and articulate what's really going on. I used my personal recovery program in Coda and Al-Anon. I used experts to get to this point, and I have ended up having a successful negotiation with a narcissist, getting everything I asked for, including no drinking on his parenting time, signed into a court order. So I avoided another trial and stayed out of family court. Actually, we stopped having so many problems and I stopped being the target of blame. Go find that video. Our child went on to win awards in school, be a high honor student, perfect attendance, excel in sports and dance. She was able to thrive when things shifted between her father and me. Really, it shifted in me. Just in word, it's not direct advice. What worked for me may not work for you. I went in phases. I did have to use family court at first. I encourage you to contemplate this concept while using your support people. So my background with my narcissistic ex, I fought in the family court for 12 years using 3 different lawyers for custody of our only child. My ex was an alcoholic. whom I ended the 15-year off and on relationship before I discovered I was pregnant. So I did everything I could to keep her out of drunk driver's car using the family court legal system. I did everything I could to keep her safe. Safety was number one goal. Getting back at me for breaking up with him and gaining control and taking the child seemed to be his goal. So at some point, my second lawyer told me my ex was a narcissist when I said, "Why do we keep going back to court?" What I failed to realize that it was not about him wanting our child, like he was petitioning with his lawyer. Instead, it was about his image and to try to paint me as the low life loser and he could feel superior. But most importantly, what I discovered is he didn't want to pay child support. So I ended up sharing and writing my story in books for moms so you don't feel so alone. The tools I discovered that helped me the most, I wrote down. I survived being outlawyered and financially devastated by my ex. I had to use many assistance programs. He ended up getting a narcissist lawyer to beat me. So writing gave me clarity. The words helped me heal. And over time, I discovered I was on the other side of this equation in the fight and learned that the change can begin with me. I mostly learned this in nonviolent communication groups. So the changes I made were in my thinking, and I reached some levels of acceptance in my heart, which launched us into peace. And after fighting for over a decade with inadequate weaponry and barely any finances, I realized that my child and I thrived in these peace times. And from that awareness, I made protection and peace my main goals. So planned non-action can accumulate leverage against a narcissist. I'm going to give you some of my examples. So, beyond reacting to the narcissist is another advanced skill that is actually a universal principle, and it's planned non action. Yes, I get that it sounds like a paradox. It is. Life is full of these paradoxes. When we start responding to situations that the narcissist creates, we're able to get into common sense, logic, and be reasonable. And we begin to think long term, which is very important because a short term win is just short lived. If our response is non action, this can sometimes even be more powerful than action. And in my case, I had called CPS multiple times with reports of him driving under the influence with our child in the car, but I had no third party proof. In the end, these numerous reports went against me in that 5-day trial, which spanned 2 years, and the whole trial brought against me felt like a modern day witch hunt. With non action, I added some softness to a hard situation. This was a subtle shift of unseen forces of my energy, attention, and emotion. I brought gentleness and flexibility to my custody case, which led to negotiations that never happened before. And this required patience and a different perspective. Are you ready for a different perspective? We often think that to overcome our challenges, we must push harder and resist more, or we may feel that we need to do more and fight against things. But sometimes the most effective way to deal with obstacles is to adapt and flow around them, which is similar to yielding to reality. It's not exactly giving up or stepping aside to be humble and accept that we are facing a very difficult person, a personality disordered person who has parenting rights. Our instincts might be to confront the problems he brings up head on with force and stubbornness. But if we listen more than we speak, if we respond with a calm demeanor rather than anger, our softer response can diffuse tension and create openings for real change. After our success, I now teach the disarm, diffuse, and neutralize the narcissist instead of fighting him directly. But our healing had to start with addressing my anger at the reality of my circumstances. I went from a frantic mom running around trying to fix everything and make things right for our child to a mom who was laid back and able to have fun with her only child. I became more mentally present, able to be emotionally available to her. Plus, I stopped lengthy messages explaining and defending myself to my ex, which gave him nothing um, to push against anymore and lessened what he had to use against me at the court trial. My responses were all brief, short, gave no energy or emotions. I became boring, factual, mature, adult mom, cool, calm, and collected. And the less I gave, the less the narcissist could hold against me or continue with his mission of trying to prove or paint me as crazy. His whole devious scheme flopped when I changed. Just a note, planned non-action isn't always the right course. Everything depends. It depends on what's happening or not happening for your child custody case. It depends on your evidence, your legal power, your strength, your financial situation, and more. For me, I had done so much action that it was time for something different to be installed as a new permanent strategy. Reporting wasn't working. Filing motion after motion in family court was falling on deaf ears now. Plus, our child was getting older and able to self protect some. Things were changing, and I had to change too. How skillful means can help. I was drained from reporting to authorities, my lawyer, the courts, all the safety concerns I had for our young child on unsupervised time with our alcoholic, narcissistic father. They didn't do what was needed to fully protect her. They seemed inept and not capable of child protection, rather, only installing parenting rights and divvying that up. Even more so, the narcissist just found better ways to hide his bad behavior. Seemingly, nothing rose to the level the judge cared about. Plus, CPS didn't understand that abusers abuse children too, and emotional abuse is serious. I had so much against me, and it was all feeling very uphill and emotionally exhausting. I burnt out using all the appropriate avenues of child protection and started learning other skills to cope, endure, and be resilient. I had to survive family court and CPS failures, so did our child. Now I teach the use of skillful means, which involves many higher level mindful concepts such as non attachment to specific outcomes, which lessens resistance and gives us energy when we need it, and detachment from the narcissist games, manipulation, tricks, tactics, and traps, which disconnects us from the narcissist drama if we're mistakenly feeding him our pain, fear, and anger and upset. I learned to stop giving narcissistic supply in all forms, and that made a world of difference. I restored my energy, sanity, and emotional energy to emotionally support our child, as she too had to endure her father. I learned to go through it with her, and that made a huge difference for her mental health. The things I believe now are different from most other experts, but are based on my experience. I wanted to get to the root of the conflict between me and my narcissistic ex, and I found some things very helpful, such as not biting the hook and taking the bait, especially when triggered, practicing the pause, dropping the rope in an ego filled tug of war, using my customer service skill, see my books, using my 3D approach, see my books, using my 3-part strategy. When to adopt non action. When we step back using a strategy and legal guidance instead of trying to control all the outcomes and enforcing every detail of an agreement or a court order, we gain clarity and power. Some things a narcissist does that we try to correct may be useful leverage for later or actually be a contempt of court that our judge will care about. I often made the mistake of complaining and calling out the narcissist to the narcissist himself. Then, to my disadvantage, I would see the narcissist correct his behavior temporarily to look good for court the next week. Then I would look like the fool and the complainer. I was mistakenly giving him a heads up on the cards I would play in the legal battle, and he was using it as an insider tip. At the time, I was reacting as any normal protective parent would to child neglect and abuse. The mama bear instinct in me was armed and ready to fight to protect my child, but I found out that it wasn't always the best way when dealing with a tricky, slippery, slimy, personality disordered liar, a covert narcissist. I learned that sometimes when we let go of the need to constantly push the narcissist, we create space to let life flow in us, through us, and around us. We can free up energy for things that matter, like getting legal consultations and documenting strategically. See my books. We have the energy to focus on our parenting and our child's needs. With non action as a strategy, we can persist as loving, caring moms with a quiet strength and learn to navigate around narcissism by adapting and being flexible. We can open our minds and get creative about what else is possible. If we can't get something from the narcissist, we can look elsewhere to find other places that might be able to help us. For example, when the narcissist didn't make a good father figure or healthy adult, I installed a healthy male therapist and found a great dad coaches who were a good influence on her and her childhood. The contrast of being treated well, with respect by other adult men, helped her not to take her dad's selfish personality personally. She was able to detach from narcissistic abuse. Lawyers and family court dealings with narcissists cost money. Also, non-action saves on legal fees and can help us in court. Often lawyers draw hard lines, pit one party against the other, and lawyers can contribute to us moms being the narcissist target of blame, the TOB. Find my video about not wanting to be the TOB because it doesn't aid for successful negotiations. In reality, the lawyers make money even if the parent's unhappy with the legal outcome, which no one can predict. If I took my second lawyer's advice to take my ex to court on every instance of contempt after the awful court order of 2020, to try to expose him to our judge and punish him with our court after he won those sole legal rights, this would have backfired on me in terms of many filings that the judge would probably start to think I was the high conflict parent. My legal fees would be more financially devastating. It was then I had to find another way. And that's when I learned the skillful means approach, which led to the only successful negotiation with a narcissist, getting my rights back and everything I wanted on my list of 20 wants. Find my 20 plus wants list. It's in one of my books. It's a power tool. And you lead your lawyer with your wants. Many of the moms I work with, they don't even know what they want. They just don't want their child abused and neglected. And they don't often ask for things because they know the narcissist won't give them. But a court could order them. So it's important to write down what you want, and you don't say, once you find the bonus guide, you got to frame the wants. They're not coming from you. A narcissist will definitely not want to give you something you want, unless you're on friendly terms like we are today. At first, family court was a good thing for me to utilize. We established child support, a regular schedule, but it turned into more post-separation abuse in the form of legal abuse. I had to recognize when things changed for us and how court began to make things worse for me and not better. And I had to become flexible. I had to step back, see what would help my child as she got older. And I had to wake up from the war. After the narcissist had beaten me in that round of family court to change my weakened appearance, I had to find another lawyer since my previous lawyer strategies only took us so far and began to fail us. At first, he was the best lawyer I could find and could help me delay my case and with strategies that worked. He was affordable, but the time came after 6 years to uplevel my legal game with a more high-powered lawyer to match his and to learn about court battles with narcissists. Switching lawyers was a strategy the narcissist used too when he lost. And it's why he won that other round. Non-action as a strategy for building leverage and stopping drama. Can you do nothing with a purpose? What do I mean by this? Well, silence can be an advantage legally and for creating a sense of power that can lead to negotiations. For example, if we're constantly confronting the narcissist, causing ego injury to him, which makes him worse and causes him to counterattack, maybe we can find another way to meet the child's needs. Scolding a narcissist doesn't usually have the desired effect since they are fundamentally personality disordered. Expect disorder. Have you tried silence? I teach my moms the 3D approach, which includes discussing with an expert coach strategist who knows narcissists in family court. 2, documenting strategically using your lawyer's recommendation on what matters most in your case to your judge. 3, detaching, letting go of problems to focus on your life and your children. And a more in-depth explanation is found in my books. Another example is if we're constantly using the courts and lawyers or threatening court action, then we're giving the narcissist an advantage of preparing his counter moves. He may just get the hardest, best, and worst lawyer to beat us with. However, if we're accumulating offenses, like not following the court order, then we are secretly building leverage. We'll have 1 to 20 instances. To my private coaching clients, I teach the basic 3-part approach to a custody battle with a narcissist. And 1 is a defense, having a solid 1 or 2-line reasonable explanation to any allegations, plus a lawyer and a lawyer's guidance. 2 is having an offense, finding things he's doing wrong, his weak spots, highlighting them, plus a lawyer. And 3, be a good mom, maybe take parenting classes, do all your parenting responsibilities. So the question is, does the idea of planned non-action resonate with you? Are you ready to step out of stress and implement strategies? How might non-action help your custody case? How could planned non-action help with co-parenting with the narcissist? My goal is to encourage and educate and help moms empower themselves. Keep learning all you can from my videos. Suggest reading my books in order written so you can see my progression. You may want to think about this idea, come to my blog, read some more about it. Definitely talk with experts. A regular coach and a regular person isn't going to understand how hard a narcissist is to try to deal with or co-parent with. Find my Spotify podcast, find my free Navigate Around the Narcissist newsletter, and you can learn, heal, and grow through this. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and find my free videos.